For example, this morning when I saw on the news, like the Georgia's passing these new like voter laws, even the picture's really jarring. I mean, I don't want to make this about race, but the governor's like this white dude, and you see like eight other white dudes standing on his side,
I don't think you're
and
making it about
it's
race, man. I think it's about race. Like, I don't know how.
yeah, but it's like the rules are done. Like you can't give people food who are waiting in line. You can't vote after 5. You can't mail in your ballot. I'm like, no, this is America. Like we have freedom.
What
Not
is the
whatever.
point? What is the point of not having people eat in line? Please tell
I
me.
don't know. I literally don't. I like
No.
it's just to make it. It's just to make it harder. It's literally just to make it harder to vote. Like
Like, oh yeah, you might be like, smuggling in extra ballots in that, like friggin' takeout, okay, and you're friggin' Big Mac, all right? Like, shut up, man, shut up, all right? It's just a Big Mac. Let me eat.
yeah. And we're recording. What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 15 of the Winston Boys podcast, exploring wealth, science, and wisdom through philosophical debates. My name is Kush.
And my name is Alex, and today we're going to be talking about some different social issues. Specifically, kind of recently, Kush and I both enjoyed this article in the New York Times called "The Case for the Establishment of a Liberal Party" or something like that. I can't remember the exact title, but the point was it was kind of talking about extremism on both sides of the political spectrum in America today and the issues it's causing for our society. And so we're going to kind of be giving our honest opinions here. Just to throw that out there, I'm not really like arguing for anything here, as opposed to most podcasts. We kind of do that more, I think. But yeah, I'm really excited to share what we have to say to you guys.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So because we read the article, you want to like sum it up a little bit for our fans here?
Yeah, sure. You have to clean this up like after I'm done. But
Yeah,
I mean, at least from what I remember, and again, I'll do this as if I'm summarizing it to you. That way, it's like stays in kind of conversation.
yeah, for sure.
But basically, if I remember correctly, it kind of went through like we have a two-party system, and like it seems like we might not have a two-party system in 2024 because there's like a group of people who aren't really on the extreme right or left, but rather they value like democracy and like honoring like our like the traditions and policies that have been in place for a while. And like, this whole idea of like innocent until proven guilty and stuff like that, that is kind of being ignored by the fringes. I don't know if I did a good job.
No, that was awesome. I couldn't have done it. Honestly, I asked you to do it because I was like, I don't know how I sum all this up, but that's how you do it right there, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a round of applause.
All right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. That was kind of like pop quiz time, though. Did you Tucker do his reading?
Dude, this reminds me of this reminds me of one time in middle school when like we had a quiz, and like you remember how like were you there when we had a bunch of substitutes in 7th grade?
Yeah.
For English?
That was the time.
Yeah.
What we had 24 teachers.
Yeah, like our second substitute, I remember she gave us a quiz. We were like, it was on something we had to memorize. It was going to be the next day.
Right?
No, the one after her. The one after her. Yeah, no. I can't remember.
But anyway, I remember no one liked me in 7th grade, and everyone was joking about me having babies with the ugly teacher.
Oh, I don't remember that. But anyway, I remember like she gave us a quiz, and one day I walked in. I was that kid that like I asked her if we still had a quiz today. And then she was like, quiz on what? And then I regurgitated all the stuff that she told us to memorize. And then she just gave me 100, and I helped her with attendance. I didn't have to take the quiz.
Damn, dude.
So this reminded me of that.
Because I've been flunking some Latin quizzes this semester.
Dude, everyone has.
Oh, God. Did you have to take a language at UNC?
I took Hindi. And I got placed in like a higher one. So I had to take a 1 credit hour like writing course, and that was it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like, I don't know, I'm reading Latin right now, and it's like they just kind of stopped using verbs. They're just like, oh yeah, just figure out what verb it is. I'm like,
yeah, I wouldn't know.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, back to our topic. I don't know how we got on that.
Yeah, that was me. I got off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, how did Miss Greenstein and Miss Atwood tie back into? I'm so confused. Where were we?
We were just getting started. We didn't have anything going.
Yeah. So anyway, basically the article is kind of like, guys, we're off track here. Okay, we are as a society, right, we're not focusing on the goods of American society. We're not focusing on how to better the goods of American society, right? We're on one end, we're rebelling against any sort of reform, and in fact, trying to go back to like the 1920s or worse. And on the other end, we're like, oh yeah, American society is so trash and so terrible, and it's just like the epitome of colonialism or whatever. And like we need to like totally not even like go through steps of overhauling it, but jump to the overhauled product, right? As in kind of run roughshod over people in a non-legislative process. And I think that the majority of Americans, and this is what the author thought too, are kind of somewhere in the middle where they're like, we should have moderate legislative reforms. We should have, not Steve Bannon and not what's her name, AOC.
Yeah, literally, I think it directly called out like AOC. It was like, why is like the House Majority Leader afraid of like? I didn't say her by name actually. It said
I
it
don't know.
indirectly, right? Like it said like he's like afraid of some girl from Brooklyn or something.
Yeah.
Like what? Like why?
Yeah.
Do we
No.
have
Yeah, I
that?
do remember that. Yeah. I mean, I don't. People like that are very effective for like advocating for something, right? But I mean, once you're in the government, you're not advocating for something. You're like trying to govern the country.
Yeah.
And you gotta, look, America's not a small state that can pivot on a dime. Okay, there's a lot of inertia there, and a lot of cultural inertia too. And people gotta, like, if you want to get to the end point here, right, you gotta like, take steps. You can't just teleport. So anyway,
Actually, do you remember? Sorry, I know we're on the
no, go
topic
ahead,
of
go ahead.
AOC. I was gonna. Do you remember that TikTok I sent you with Kevin O'Leary, like the guy from Shark Tank? He made a TikTok where he was wearing an AOC t-shirt, and he was like, "Hey guys, just went for a walk on the beach, and everyone was asking to buy this AOC t-shirt off me." And he's like, "You know what I think? I think inside every socialist there's a capitalist screaming to get out." And he flips the camera around. He's like, "This is AOC's website. She's selling this t-shirt for $62. I know this costs about $6 to make and $5 for shipping. AOC, give me a call. We can blow this thing up together. Don't be greedy." And that's like the TikTok. Yeah.
That's really funny. That's really funny. No, yeah, I mean, I don't know much about her. I'm not gonna start dissing her, but I mean, I think she's a little bit like out there. Okay, I think most people, even people who really love her, right? Like, she's definitely like on the left end of American politics, like way out on the left end. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's see here. I think yeah, so I don't know, something that I've found kind of interesting. I think how to put this. So growing up, I had this really great relationship with my next door neighbor, who was a black physicist. I'm not going to say his name. I probably shouldn't do that. But anyway, he's a really, really cool guy. And he actually got like an award from the president of the United States and everything. He helped like develop the GPS service, and he's one of the reasons.
Which president?
Oh God, I want to say Clinton, but I don't remember. I mean, I was like 7 years old when I saw the plaque. It might have been before Clinton. It was a while ago.
I was just curious.
But I mean, I'm not making it up. Like, he really does have it.
No. I was just wondering like what like the time frame, like who he met, like who he knew.
I mean,
I feel like that's like a cool like detail.
No, he's really it might have been Bush. It might have been under Bush, because I think he retired a little. Well, I don't know though, because it was Bush at the time, because I was like 7 when I saw it. I don't know. It was a long time ago, 13 years ago or something. But I mean, I still talk to the guy. He's a really cool guy. He's a brilliant guy. And as a kid, right, it wasn't like I was like going over there and like thinking about, he's a black guy who grew up in basically like, Jim Crow era, like very, very racist, like a policy racist America, right? And I'm like a privileged white kid. I mean, he literally grew up in the slums of like, I think it was Detroit or Chicago or something, and joined the military. And he didn't graduate high school. That's the most amazing thing. He didn't graduate high school. He joined the military, and then finished high school while he was in the military, and like took a bunch of college classes, and then got a job in a lab, and then worked his way while he was at the lab. After he had a kid and was married, he worked his way through his master's, and ended up
Mm.
working on the GPS satellites. Anyway, really, really inspirational guy. And, he totally got me into the subject, but that's kind of besides the point. But I think about like, I don't know. It's like at the time I never thought about, he's a black guy and I'm a white kid. Like I was a little kid, right? Like kids don't think about that kind of, at least I didn't, right? I wasn't raised to think that way, right? But now it's like, I don't know. It's like, I feel almost like on my end of things, I feel almost bad. You know what I mean? Because there's like so much, because our circumstances are so different. You know what I mean? Where he was
I'm confused. So sorry, 'cause I remember you told this story earlier, and like, and I know we're getting to this point now. Why, like, I'm confused why you feel bad about that though, because like, isn't it out of your control too that like your circumstances are different?
It is. And at the same time, I wish there were, I don't know. I guess I'm white guilting here, which is
Yeah,
what I
I'm.
do. How do I put this? I guess for one, I feel like I wish there was something to do that I could do to undo that. Of course, I wasn't involved in his oppression or whatever. I don't know to
Yeah,
what degree he expressed. I haven't actually talked to him about it. But I assume there. I mean, there was obviously racism at the time, and he was a poor black guy. You can kind of put two and two together.
yeah.
In the 1940s and 50s, what do you think was happening? But I don't know. It's like obviously we want to move away from that, is what I'm trying to say, right? Like I don't want to be any part of I want to give people like him who are brilliant the opportunities they should have, so they don't have to fight against the odds, right?
Yeah.
And I want to like eliminate, right, like racism and stuff like that. Obviously, right? Like I'm not a jerk, okay?
Yeah.
And I think,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we need to take things step at a time, and I don't think we can take the AOC route that is, just like, okay, guys, we're gonna like, so I mean, I don't even know what AOC
We're
is.
going to make the perfect rule book that has ever existed, and there's going to be no problems with it, and we're going to implement it, and it's going to be perfect because humans
Right.
create perfect solutions and only perfect solutions.
And we're gonna hate everyone who doesn't even stand in our way, but politely disagrees with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know what that rant was about, but
So we were talking about your neighbor, like, and like
Yeah.
him having the same like opportunities and stuff.
So anyway, I think it's really important. Like, I think equity is really important, and I think it's really important that we move towards that in a liberal and open-minded fashion, so that the reforms that people are trying to get to like come about in a good way, and that don't like run roughshod over people. For instance, the Harvard case, right? Like, come on, you're a guy of Asian descent. Okay, I know you're not Chinese, but I think Indian people were being discriminated. Were they being discriminated against at Harvard? I'm pretty sure. Or was it just not?
I think so. Yeah.
I think they.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're one of the plaintiffs or not, but like,
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the guy who's leading that is like Indian, because
is
he
he?
got made fun of on Patriot Act, like by Hassan Minhaj.
Oh
Like
yeah, no, dude, we watched that episode. I forgot.
yeah. Like he roasted the guy. He talked about how like Aquila and the Bee should have been a movie about like an Indian kid, and then Hassan Minhaj made the joke. He's like, guys, they're blackwashing our Indian movies. Oh my god. He was making fun of him.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, like, like that's not right. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
All right, like
It's
you should
weird,
have the same shot as everyone else.
It goes back to this though, because it's like everyone should have the same shot, but then affirmative action was made to give black people an or certain minorities, like there's more than just black people, obviously. Or I'm kind of screwing myself by talking. And it was made to give like certain,
but not me, okay?
it was made to give like certain groups who are like usually like unrepresented. It was made to give them like an equitable level of representation.
Yeah.
But creating equity made it unfair for Asian students.
Right.
So I mean, it's like there's a give and a take. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no, I mean 100%. And I think that a certain level of affirmative action is fine, but you shouldn't, at the same time, you shouldn't be discriminating against other races. Like, I mean, like the what was it the Harvard guy said that really kind of ticked me out. He was like, well, I mean, if we just let people in based on merit, the school would be like 70% Asian. I'm like,
Yeah.
Sounds like an everyone else problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a merit-based school.
Well, I'm surprised you. Hold on, wait. Just for the sake of entertainment, I'm surprised you're taking this side because we were just like you were just talking about your neighbor and how you felt like there needed to be equity for him. So I'm kind of curious what like where this is
Yeah, man.
going.
What I mean by equity is like he grows up with educated parents, and he's able to graduate from high school, and he gets the opportunities he should have from the beginning, so he can go to a school like Harvard without having to discriminate against some poor brown person. Okay,
Yeah.
like
Okay. That's okay.
that's
So
what we
I
should be
see.
starting off with, and I think that the biggest don't quote me. I mean, quote me on it, but like this is just my opinion. I think that if we fixed economic inequality, it would do so much for like oppressed minorities, right? Like because they're so far in the like the lower socioeconomic quartile, right? Or quint or whatever. Like they're the black people on average, and I am specifically talking about black people here. You can look it up. Like they have almost no I forget the statistic, but it's a fraction, right? Each black family has a fraction of the economic like power and savings and wealth of a white family, right? And obviously that's wrong, right? Because there's no reason for that, right? And when we should be trying to close that gap, right? And I think that if you have, kids like, and I'm using Mr. Danzy as an example, but modern, black families who have access to wealth and have access to education and jobs that are, bring them fulfillment and stuff, and then they won't need these sorts of, I think that I mean, I don't think anyone really goes and looks at affirmative action and says, "Look, we want this to continue for infinity." I think affirmative action is like saying, "Okay, well, look, we're not getting the job done we should be doing, so we're putting a band-aid on it." You know what I mean? Like black people
Yeah.
can compete in universities, and I mean, obviously they can, but like we have to give them, we have to help them out so that they're represented. Well, why aren't they? They're just as smart as we are. They're just as good as we are. They can represent themselves. They don't need our help if we're treating them fairly as a society. You know what I mean? And obviously that's
Yeah.
not something that you can just solve overnight, but I mean, I think it's something we should be working towards eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think so. I'm gonna try to avoid saying the words "I agree" because I've recently learned that makes it not entertaining. But I feel like this too, like this reminds me of like this reminds me of like this whole like new kind of movement we've seen in entrepreneurship. Just because like I'm not gonna get too far into it because it's kind of boring. But if you, or at least I think it might be boring to other people. But like if you look at entrepreneurship over the last 20 years, there's been so many different ways that people have been able to build startups. And now there's this whole vein of social entrepreneurship where people are able to build like like nonprofits, but like in the traditional startup way where like they're able to like raise money and then they can, have a salary and stuff and pay themselves, but they're still entrepreneurs solving a problem just for the sake of social good.
Yeah.
So I feel like that whole like movement is going to take over a lot of these problems
Yeah.
just
I think
because
that,
it's, oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No. Sorry.
No, no,
Finish.
I was gonna say like I feel like it's like rather than applying this like government centric approach, which is just like let's pump a bunch of money into this thing and then like just find a solution with all this money. It's like a more like entrepreneurship is like a more like cash conservative way of thinking. It's like we have limited resources. Now with limited resources, we're forced to find the most efficient solution at this level. And since you're forced to do that, you find the most efficient solutions, and then like those compete with each other. If that makes sense.
Right.
Whereas
No.
in government programs, it's just like this is the rule and go do it.
No, absolutely. And well, that's a different podcast. I was gonna say something about that, but that's a different podcast.
Okay, you're
Um,
right.
so let's yeah, I think that obviously a capitalist system that's able to do, I don't know that the capitalist systems are really good about doing things when there's a money incentive. And if there's not a money incentive, they're really, really bad at it. Right? You have to think
Yeah,
about, like that's the whole point of the system is there has to be a monetary incentive. There has to be an economic incentive.
well
Is there
that's what I
necessarily an incentive for corporations to empower black workers in the American community by paying them more, right? I mean, and supplying them with education, for free, night school or whatever. Okay,
yeah.
things that would be good for that minority. Okay, to advance them towards the goals we're talking about.
Yeah, no. But this is what I mean. This is what I mean by social entrepreneurship. So like,
Yeah.
it's like for
How
example,
is
like
there a fiscal, you know?
there's not. This is the beauty of it. This is the beauty
Okay,
of it because
let's hear it.
capital has become more accessible now. It's become way more accessible than it was back in the 80s and the 90s. So like, let's say that like you, Alex Marshall, are super passionate about this problem that these black kids are not getting these certain like, for example, like let's say like you zoom in on like, hey, like in elementary school, black kids are not getting access to this extracurricular activity that white and Asian kids are, and that's causing this big discrepancy. And you've identified this big problem in society, and you're passionate about it, and you love it. Today, because of the internet, because of all these opportunities that exist, and you can read, like, it's in like the Lean Startup, which is one of the holy grails of entrepreneurship, where this guy kind of breaks down how to do all this. Today, you can build a nonprofit startup aimed at solving that problem, and you can raise enough money through donations where you, as the CEO of this startup, get a salary so you can live, but you spend your whole, like, your work, like you go to work every day, your company is still a nonprofit, you're not trying to make a profit, like you're trying to solve this problem, but everyone's still getting a salary. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So I'm going, let's just say, to inner city schools, because of course they're, thankfully we're not in segregated times anymore. So I think what I would do is, hey, look, you went to Brunson, okay? Like,
Yeah.
there was a lot of I don't know if it was a majority minority school, but like it was definitely mostly disadvantaged. There were a lot of ASL students there. I remember that. Disadvantaged minority
Yeah.
students, except for the HAG program that we were in, right? And like,
Gentrification.
I mean, it's kind of like gentrification, but like kind of like reverse gentrification, because they're like, oh yeah, let's
Yeah.
bring up the test scores so the school like gets funding. But
Yeah.
big brain time. But I mean, like I don't know. I think it'd be pretty cool to go, I don't know, maybe teach like physics and basically just play with cars, with like, kids from that sort of thing, right? I mean, they're never going to get the chance to do that. What if one of them's I'm sure some of them are, just statistically speaking, they could be the next generation of physicists. They could be the next Mr. Danzy, right? And we need to give them the opportunities to, do what they are capable of doing. You know what I mean? And I think that would be fair, right?
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, you talk to anyone who's like really successful and they all tell you the same thing when it comes to charity. They're all like, you can't expect to like gain money or knowledge or wisdom without giving. Like they all give the same advice. You're like, you have to give to get, you know? And so, I mean, another reason it's become it's not just because a lot of these tools and stuff are now so accessible, or like if you have an idea for an app, like you can just go out and code it or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like another reason entrepreneurship has become, or social entrepreneurship has become more accessible is because, like, for example, you might have like a venture capitalist, like, one guy that I know locally, like his name is Scott. And like, I know, like, Scott's like, he co-founded like a venture capital firm here in Durham that, today they're winding it down, but today it's worth over $300 million. And so Scott, obviously, he's going to do a lot of charity in his free time. And he's built, hundreds of tech companies. So when I go to him and I say, hey, we're this new social startup, we've created this cool new software product that gets these, disadvantaged children in the inner city access to this type of opportunity. Like maybe it's a software that teaches them something or gives them some tutoring that they didn't previously have access to. And I'm like, now we need the capital so that we can all have salaries and so we can do the marketing and so we can implement this and stuff like that. He might be like, oh, okay, yeah, like we have all the meetings with him. He's like, yeah, I'll cut you like a $4 million check, go do
Yeah,
it.
it's crazy. No, and I think that's awesome. Whether or not capitalism is ever going to do that effectively is time for another podcast.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, I think that man, we've gotten really sidetracked, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think that's what it's all about,
For sure. And anyway, so now that we've both established a nice position on
Yeah, we're only 18 minutes in. We've got a little over half of it left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So back to liberalism here, right? Look, what we just did was a great example of liberalism, right? Where we come at an issue from kind of different perspectives, right? And we say, listen to each other, talk about it, and we say, look, all right, we may not agree on everything here, but we can make a plan going forward that kind of addresses both of our goals, right? So, that's what America needs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what, at least that's what I think any society needs, not just America, but I mean, like that's what any society needs. I mean, anytime you don't have like let me think how to put this. If you're on board a ship and the ship is sinking and the captain says, okay, go do this, right? And you're like, oh no, we should do the other thing first. It doesn't matter if you're right or not. The ship's going to sink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we're all moving in different directions, now, of course, I'm not advocating for that. We never criticize the people in power or anything like that. What I'm saying is, I think it's important that we all have a sense of purpose, that we can kind of agree that we're working towards this or that or the other thing. And at least if we don't agree what we're working towards, we can talk about what we want and kind of compromise. You know what I mean? Like, the good old bipartisan days in Washington of old. Okay. The mythical bipartisan age.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there used to be more bipartisanism. I don't know. At least didn't used to be as nasty as it is now.
This leads me kind of the next topic, and I just like, I mean, you said that this just popped into my head, but I agree. Like, I feel like it's like a, hold on, I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. Like, I agree. Like, I feel like a lot of times, like, the different sides will all agree on a problem. Not in all cases, but a lot of times the different sides will agree that like this thing is a problem, but then disagree on the solution. And I think a great like example of that is Me Too and that whole movement. Because I think everyone agrees that sexual assault is a problem, right? And you have people on like the right who are like, we need to bring back like chemical castration and all this stuff. And like, we need to, up the punishments and all that kind of stuff. And then on the left, you have this solution of believe all women. And if in the left's perspective, if you don't believe all women just flat out, you're a monster. But then the right is, I should stop saying left and right.
Not just a monster, but a misogynist monster, which is way worse.
Yeah. But then the response to like when someone says, hey, that, maybe that's a bad solution. Like, I agree with you on the problem, but I don't think that's the right solution. It's like, well, there's no room to talk about the solution. It's like, you take my solution or nothing.
You know what I mean? Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that, so the Me Too movement, first of all, 5-star transition right there, my guy, my goodness. Second of all, the Me Too movement is a perfect example for stuff like this, where it's like, look, man, no one likes rape. Okay. No one thinks it's a good thing. Everyone wants it to go away. Everyone thinks we should all be doing more to stop it. Okay. And I think our society is trying to address it. And in some ways we're doing well, and in some ways I'm sure we're falling short. Fortunately, rape is one of those things that's kind of like very difficult to track, right? Because it's like, I mean, it's happening in private, and it's something that's very difficult to collect evidence on, right? I mean, usually, unless you go to the police right away, it's really hard to say, oh, I was raped by so-and-so, right? How do you prove it? Well, you usually can't, right? And that's why there's been the Me Too movement that has kind of used a theatrical public opinion court, right, to punish people who aren't necessarily being held accountable by our criminal justice system, because there's not much evidence, or very little, at least no conclusive evidence almost all the time. Sometimes there has been, Harvey Weinstein, right? Weinstein? I don't know. People like that, right? Who they've done so many terrible things that it's obvious, right? and they can get sent to prison for it. Yay. Okay. That's awesome. But I sympathize, right, with the movement. And at the same time, you end up with people, being attacked, and there's no, to quote the Queen of Hearts, right, from Alice in Wonderland. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie or read that book, but the Queen of Hearts.
I've seen the movie.
Okay. Well, her one of her little catchphrases was the sentence first and then the verdict, right? Like, and that's what's happened with a lot of the Me Too stuff, I feel, is okay, well, we think this guy, someone said this guy's done something bad, and so we're going to fire him, or we're going to put pressure on him. And look at Al Franken. There we go. Couldn't remember the name. A senator, right? Politically important. The people of some state, I can't remember which one, elected him, right? I mean, he was the will of the people, right? And the entire, like, pretty much a bipartisan effort mostly Democrats though, I think, which are in his own party, turned on him and like made him resign, right? Like without a due process, without any sort of investigation. Not only are you harming the individual, but you're also saying, look, the people that whoever this, whatever the state was, the man they have elected to represent them, right? We're gonna kick him out. They're kind of doing harm to whatever state it was, right? As well as to the individual, right? Not only did they ruin Al Franken's political career, but they also said, look, we're going to throw out your decision for the election because someone said something, right? And we're not even going to do an investigation, right? He resigned before an investigation was conducted because there was so much, and that's what they're trying to do to Cuomo right now. I'm not saying if he's guilty or not. I'm saying they should find out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what Biden said the same thing too. He said, I'm not going to comment on this till they do an investigation. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. Look, let's say that, look, Kush, be careful editing this for TikTok. Let's say, all right, Kush, I'm accusing you of rape. Hypothetically, I accuse you of rape. Okay, like, how do you even defend yourself? If I say in 20 years from now, okay, you raped me, like, how do you defend yourself, right? How do you prove definitively that you didn't commit rape? You know, it's a difficult situation, right? Because on one end, you want to help these people who have been, wronged, right? I mean, millions of women, okay, millions of women, and on the other end, and you want justice for them, and on the other end, I don't think it's right to just go around and, condemn innocent people.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we're getting to the point, like in all this Me Too stuff, where like I'm thinking about whether I should say this or that. I'm like, it might be a landmine there or there. Like I need to know, but maybe an interesting related story that might spark something else. Because I remember like you had an interesting take on the David Dobrik stuff, and I was wondering, have you heard anything about this on your end? Anything with David Dobrik?
Only what you and I have spoken about, and I didn't know that much now. So go ahead and tell me the full story. So I'm interested. It sounds pretty bad.
So I'm kind of, I don't want to say active. I've been a David Dobrik fan, for the last couple of years.
I've watched his videos. He's funny. He's funny.
He's a great storyteller. I mean, I don't know how you can tell stories that well in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So I will give him that right off the bat. Amazing storyteller. But like this whole situation happened where like people started coming out about this whole weird power dynamic thing he had going with his group where like, when he would tell a joke, they would all kind of fake laugh in unison. It was kind of like a cult following. And like he would tell them to like jump over a pool with a moped and they would just do it because they were so desperate to be in his videos. And like, like there's people who like and it kind of, this power dynamic led to some like instances of people doing things where people like forced to do things without consent kind of. And he was recently like canceled for that. So like the biggest allegation that came out against him with this was like back in 2019, he has this friend named Dom, who's like supposed to be this weird, like sex crazed, like F boy or whatever. Right. And so like, there was this whole thing that happened where like Dom put out an Instagram story and said like, hey, do any girls want to have a fivesome with me at David Dobrik's old apartment? And so he puts out this story and like another Vlog Squad member, Jeff Wittick, who was recounting the story, said like, when David films, like it's like he's running around LA all day long looking for vlog bits. So like he'll go to his house, film something there, go to someone else's house, film something there, keep moving. And they see this story and they're like, okay, let's go to the apartment. Let's see what happens with this fivesome. If it's boring, we'll leave or we'll get some good footage out of it. So they go to the house.
No, not a vlog, my guy.
Yeah, exactly. so they end it. If you watch the vlog, I think it's been taken down, but it's been re-uploaded. He makes it look all cute and fun, and it's this whole thing where these 5 like fangirls come in, and he's like, these 5 girls came to have a fivesome with Dom, and like after a few minutes of talking, it was clear that nothing was happening, and then it cuts, and it's like, but after a few hours of convincing, 2 of them agreed to go into the room with Dom, and then like a lot of people who reviewed the story were like, wait, convincing, like what? And then come to find out that the girls told Insider, who wrote this article, that David Dobrik had told his friends Jeff and Todd to go buy alcohol to give to these like some of these girls are underage, to give to these girls to loosen them up so that they'll have sex with Dom for his vlog. And so two of them go in, and one of them is blackout drunk. Like the article is really graphic. I don't know if it's YouTube friendly, so I'm not gonna say what happened in that room out loud. But one of them's blackout drunk, and the other one's trying to doing messed up stuff with Dom to get her away from her blackout drunk friend. But there's corroboration that David knew, because in the beginning David was denying and trying to discredit people, or his lawyers were trying to discredit people, and he wasn't addressing the situation. But then there was a picture that one of the girls had, and like he said, he was only there for a few minutes. He wasn't there for the fivesome or whatever. He didn't know it happened. But there's a picture that one of the girls had of all, like, David and his whole friend group in the video there at the end of the night, like at 1 a.m, with the really drunk girl, like being held up by her friends. And like it corroborates like the story that the girls told. So after that came out, like David's basically been like canceled. And there's other allegations too. I've been talking for like 5 minutes. I'm gonna shut up.
I didn't know the story. Yeah, that's really interesting, and I don't know what to think about it. It's pretty clear there was some pretty serious misconduct there.
Yeah.
Like, by no means am I a doubter. I mean, when there's misconduct, cancel and prosecute if you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the question that people have been asking is how responsible is David in all this? Because in theory, he's the most powerful person there. Like, he's got all the influence, but he didn't technically do the act. So that's been the big question there.
I mean, a few questions here. I mean, how powerful is David Dobrik? Like, I just don't.
He is powerful.
He's powerful?
He's
I don't
powerful,
know, dude.
dude.
I don't just like hear the name and get shivers up my spine or anything. Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's
like,
true
if
for
I
a
heard
lot of
David
people.
Dobrik was coming for me, I'd be like, okay, I'll just wait outside. Like, it's fine. I'm not worried. I don't know.
But you got to realize he's so powerful. He wouldn't come for you. He would send a team of very skilled attack people.
Very skilled vloggers.
Dude, the guy is living in a $10 million mansion in LA. Like he like his company, before he had to step out of it, was valued at like $200 million. Like his dispo company. Like the guy is like he's got influence.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I didn't know he was so powerful. I think that obviously the question of I don't know that it's relevant, actually. I was going to ask, like, does it matter? I mean, it sounds like the girls came to the apartment of their own free will, knowing that they were coming to a fivesome. Obviously, That doesn't constitute consent later on in the night. That doesn't mean that they want to have sex with him or want to participate in the fivesome. But they came there under that pretense. I just don't know that it makes a difference that they did, because it sounds like the girl was blackout drunk, and if she was really blackout drunk, then it's pretty. I mean,
yeah.
Unless the guy had really good evidence to show that he had no idea she was blackout drunk. I mean, but if someone's falling over, you don't try to have sex with them. I mean, that just seems like pretty blatant.
Yeah. Maybe I can give a lighter example so like we're more comfortable talking about it.
No. I mean, I'm comfortable talking about it. Like I don't mind. It's fine. I'm just trying to work through it in my head because I'm not familiar with it. I mean, like I said, if it weren't for the fact that she was blackout drunk, if it were like more of the fact of like, oh, well, she came over, had a few drinks, and then they had sex, right? Like, I'd be like, okay, well, she came over to his house saying she wanted to have sex with him. Then she had a few drinks and agreed to have sex, and they had sex. There's no scandal.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? But like if she had previously expressed, oh yeah, I really don't want to have sex with you, and then he pressured her into it while she was drunk, that'd be a different story. But if I'm like, hey, ladies, come over and have sex with me, and let's get drunk and have sex, and then they come over, get drunk and have sex, I don't think I'm committing a foul here, as long as they're not blackout drunk, as long as I can tell that they're with it enough to like consent. I don't know where that line is, but I mean, blackout drunk is clearly too drunk. I don't know. At school, they always tell us if girls had a drink, and you have sex with her, it's like that's what freshman orientation told us. It was like, okay, it's rape. And then I'm like, okay, well, you know what? My girlfriend's had sex with me while I'm drunk, and I've had sex with her while she's drunk, and we've had sex with each other while we're both drunk.
Might beep this out, but
might bleep that out. That's fine.
Right.
Don't want my
Yeah.
mom here. But you know what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, does that? I look. It's all consensual. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that.
Yeah.
I don't know how many drinks. There's certainly a number of drinks that makes you no longer able to consent.
Yeah.
It just is a matter of if that girl was at that point. I mean, obviously, I think it's more a matter of inebriation, right? How inebriated are you? Was that girl at that point of inebriation where, she can't make decisions anymore? Maybe, I don't know, maybe you can ask someone, a basic math problem and they can't do it or something, or they can't,
Did the corroboration points to like she was
she was really drunk.
she was like limp body
Well, I
like
mean, in that case, it's rape. It's not even like,
yeah, that's what the allegation
oh,
is.
okay, it's a rape.
And it's like it was weird because I mean, like again, I think what they were saying is this is common of like a lot of like rape victims, but like she actually like 3 days later when they asked for consent to use the footage, she gave them consent to use the footage. But then 6 months later, this other girl named Trisha Paytas made a video on David because like she was dating David's friend, and then David broke them up because she thought Trisha was too crazy. I don't know why he broke them up, but he broke them up and basically kicked Trisha out of the group. So she was, she made like a video on him. And then that gave this girl who was raped by Dom like the courage to, to reach out to him and say, hey, I know I gave consent for that video. But now I realized that, like I wasn't conscious that night. I wasn't able to remember things. Like my friends were telling me all these things that happened that I didn't even know about. And like, she was like, can you take the video down? And he sends her back like a 1-line text, like, sure, it's down now. And so obviously he, in order for that to happen, he had to talk to David because it was David's video. And so 6 months later, which I think this is sometime early 2020, late 2019, David knew this happened. Mm-hmm. And this is after Dom, his friend, had already assaulted some girls in 2017 at VidCon. So he knew Dom was this interesting character. And this happens again.
I mean, if he's assaulting girls, that's just an asshole, right?
Or not interesting character, but he knew Dom was sketch. He continued to associate with him, give him a platform. And he finds out in early 2020, this girl feels like she's been assaulted. He takes down the video, but doesn't address it at all with the public, doesn't address it at all with her, just takes down the video, and that's it.
Well, I don't know that it would have been right for him to address it in public without her bringing it up. I mean, if that seems like a very private matter that should be up to her. If she feels like she's been violated, she wants to go public with it. Like, I don't think he should be going public with it.
Yeah, but he didn't do any. He just took the video down and just didn't talk to anyone, didn't do anything, just ignored.
I mean, what course of action would you have suggested for him at that time?
That's a good. I don't really know.
I don't know that. I don't know. Do you go public with? Oh yeah. By the way, this girl asked me to take down a video, and I felt like the whole situation was a little bit rapey, so I'm gonna tell everyone about it and totally invade her privacy, and it's gonna get millions of views. Sorry, lady. Like, that seems like a huge dick move. I'm not defending the guy. I'm just saying I don't think he did what was wrong. I don't think that was necessarily wrong. Like, you could criticize him for that. I don't really know that it's a charitable, fair thing to criticize him for. And I don't know that he would have. I don't know to what degree he thought about it at the time as rape. Right? I don't know. Or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, here's a different allegation, which is like maybe a bit more like this one's a bit different because it involves a guy, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously, like guys are going to be more embarrassed to come out about this kind of stuff. So like, I remember I texted you a little bit about like this was like a friend he had named Seth, right?
It's still about Dobrik.
Yeah. So he has this friend named Seth. Seth's this black guy from Compton, right? Mm-hmm. And like Seth was friends with him back in the day. And like Seth, like he tells this story from his perspective. He had just come back from like a trip. He's driving back home, like exhausted. And he gets a call from David. Hey, I know, like, are you able to come to the apartment to film like a bit really quick? And he's like, in his head, he's like, what? Like, why is he choosing me? But then he doesn't think about it. He's like, okay, I get to get in David's vlog. I'll go to the apartment. So he goes to the apartment to film this bit. And he says, hey, we want to film this bit of you making out with Corinna, who's this attractive girl in David's vlogs, except she's going to be wearing an old man mask. And we just need that shot for the vlog. And so he says, okay. And so,
that's weird.
Yeah, they get on the couch, and
I just that's weird. Okay, you may
yeah,
continue.
I told you there's a weird power dynamic, right? And so it's like he sits them both down on the couch. Supposedly Corinna's wearing this old man mask, and he says, "All right, now make out." And he's making out with her, like, real, and like David encourages him. Like he said it in a podcast later. Yeah, I told Seth, like really go for it. So he's like, groping, really making out with her, and like thinking like, he's making out with this attractive girl. And then about 30 seconds into it, the person wearing the mask takes it off, and it's Jason Nash, who is David's 47 or something year old friend. And he realizes, this black guy from Compton, where homosexuality is not so accepted, realizes that he's been kissing in front of millions of people another guy. And then after that, David asked him for consent for a second bit. There's no evidence he ever gave him consent, even though David tried to claim that he did. But then this, again, Seth's from Compton. He doesn't have a lot of money. David puts on this whole like charade where it's like, he poses to be a commercial production company, puts out an ad, says he's going to pay Seth $2,500 for this commercial, gets him to make out with Jason in a gorilla mask again. And after all that, after he basically assaults him for the second time, doesn't pay him at all.
Well, I wouldn't say basically. Come on, that's not assault.
He didn't consent to kissing. I mean, okay.
He did. He went over and kissed him.
Yeah, but he thought it was under the. So first of all, it was just like he didn't consent to that. He thought he was in a commercial. He thought he was in like a paid gig. He didn't think it was David's vlogs. He never agreed to do a David vlog kissing someone in a gorilla costume bit. He agreed to do a commercial for this company.
David was a vlogger who played pranks on people.
Wait, what?
He knew David was a vlogger, right? Who was playing pranks on people all the time.
But he didn't know this was he thought this was his big break. He thought he was finally getting somewhere. He's from a poor area in California. He thought this was his break.
I'm not as sympathetic to that as I am to the black, or to the, what am I saying? To the underage girl getting the blackout drunk girl getting assaulted. I don't know that someone like, oh yeah, I'll pay you to make out with this dude in a gorilla suit, and then I make out with the dude in the gorilla suit, and then they don't pay me. Like, that's not assault, dude.
No, but the paying was just the extra thing. The thing is, in the first case, he never consented to kissing Jason. He consented to kissing Corinna, and without him knowing, they had him kiss Jason. And then he didn't consent to doing it the second time, or at least there's no evidence of him doing that, even though David and his team claimed that he did consent. But the second time, there was still no consent, and they got him to make out with a guy again.
Well, I mean, what do you mean there was no consent? Was he supposed to document his consent to make out with the guy?
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, imagine playing that prank on a girl. Imagine a girl thinks she's kissing another girl, and then they pull off the mask, and it's a 47-year-old guy the girl is actually kissing.
No, okay, I see. I mean, that's pretty strange. I don't know. That's a really borderline case of like, is it sexual assault if you think... Is it sexual assault if you think you're kissing someone else?
Basically, I mean, all I'll say, he never consented. Know. He never consented. He never consented to doing that, like what they made him do. I just think it's really like.
I mean, obviously, it's screwy. It's unethical.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm not defending David Dobrik. Like I said, he's funny. I don't have any skin in the game. And in fact, I think pretty thoroughly, a third of what's going on here has any evidence in reality, as any basis, I think he should be canceled.
Yeah.
But I would argue, I mean, that's really interesting. Is that assault? I don't know, man. That's bizarre.
Dude, he was fighting, man. Like that Insider article too, like there's sections in there where his like lawyers try to discredit Trisha, who was like a girl who had spoke out about him a while ago and stuff. And he fought the whole time. He put out an apology video a week ago where it was like, it totally just missed the mark. He was like, he said some crap about like consent's important to me or something. And then this week, after he lost all of his sponsors, all of his brand deals, his company, everything, now he made a video of him like sitting on the floor, addressing everyone directly, saying like, I effed up, like, like this is what I deserve.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he had definitely up. There's no doubt about it. I mean, as long as if he's admitting it at this point is probably true. But I mean, obviously, I think that so for one, his friend was obviously more culpable than he was in the rape thing, right? I mean, think of him basically like an asshole frat bro who like doesn't stop the other asshole, the bigger asshole frat bro from raping the girl. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
should he be kicked off campus? I don't know. Maybe he didn't do what he should have done, but he isn't the rapist.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not call him a rapist. At this
Oh
point.
yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think anyone's accusing him of that.
Unethical asshole. Yeah, he's an unethical asshole.
Yeah. Like people are accusing him of having the power in all these situations and him being the one who is responsible for these different things
It
happening.
always weirds me out when people go for. I'll be honest with you. It really weirds me out when people go for the power argument, right? Like people are like, oh yeah, you know, this this guy is so powerful. You know, David Dobrik, a YouTuber, is so powerful that I'm gonna drive over to his house, and I have no choice in the matter, and then I'm going to make out with a dude in a gorilla suit. And I have
Think about Weinstein though. Think about Weinstein. Those girls thought that if they did what they did with him, they were going to get their shot in movies. And David Dobrik it's kind of the same thing for YouTube. If you're in David's vlogs, you get a platform. Everyone around David got a career because they were around David, and he put him in his vlogs, which were so like wildly popular on YouTube. Like he built so many people's careers by doing that. And so they all thought.
Weinstein also did a bunch of other nasty stuff too. I mean, not only that, but
yeah. Okay, I'm not comparing David. Let me.
David Dobrik was not nobody.
Yeah, he didn't do any of the acts
or anything else.
Yeah.
So like I think there's a huge look. Like I said, unethical asshole. Yes. Harvey Weinstein. No, he's not like that.
Yeah.
Let's draw a very clear line there, right? One of them, I mean, Harvey Weinstein was like at it with underage women, right? Like underage girls, right? Like that was the whole
I don't even know the details of that.
I don't know all the details, but I'm pretty sure it was a bunch of underage girls, and as well as the power dynamic stuff. But I mean, you know, like obviously bad, very bad, and David Dobrik obviously bad. Obviously, I think not to the same degree, and obviously again not a rapist, just an unethical asshole. And yeah, I would push back. Look. I'm against calling anything I'm against calling what happened to the whatever his name was from Compton rape or sexual assault, right? Like it's weird, it's unethical, it's misleading. But I mean, I think rape is like you don't have a choice in the matter, and he very clearly put himself right where he thought he was going to be, you know what I mean? And yeah, that was a weird situation with the I mean, I don't know, the mask thing is weird. But I don't know, because if you're making it, I'd have to, I guess the deciding factor is how clear did they make it that they were talking, like he was going to be making out with this specific person?
They, on a podcast, like a few months later, like David and Jason, the 47-year-old guy, like they have a podcast together called Views. And on that podcast, they talked about how Seth was the perfect candidate for this because he's a black guy from Compton where homosexuality isn't as accepted. So they specifically targeted Seth because he was their only black friend.
Well, I mean, in that case, could we say, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Were they trying to like make a statement against for homosexuality and acceptance of gay rights or something? Or?
It was a joke. It's a David Dobrik bit. It's a comedy video. It's a 4-minute 20-second comedy video. This was a little prank that happens in the middle of a 4-minute 20-second comedy video. It's David Dobrik. That's what I'm saying.
I have not watched enough David Dobrik videos to know what David Dobrik does. To be honest with you, I've probably watched 2 or 3 in my whole life.
Yeah, but
like they were moderately entertaining, but not enough that I ever watched a 3rd or 4th.
Yeah. I don't know. I actually, so now to kind of go back to the whole cancel culture thing, I actually was a David Dobrik fan, and I'm kind of evaluating where I'm at now with him after all this stuff's happened. But kind of going back to like cancel culture, it's kind of, I feel like a lot of this stuff kind of goes back to like, like he who hasn't sinned or whatever the Bible quote is, like will cast the first stone. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's a good
Because
one.
it's kind of like so David had this weird power dynamic, and there's like these instances where like people felt pressured to do things they didn't want to do for his vlog because they thought that's what it'd take to make it. But at the same time, the guy had this huge platform, and he primarily used it to make giving cool. I mean, a lot of his videos, he's just giving away cars, giving away money, like, and all this kind of stuff. And so, like, even though this power dynamic stuff happened, it's like at the same time, he did do a lot of good. So, like, should we just look at him in like the one dimension of, him doing this bad stuff?
Yeah, I mean, no. Obviously not, but people need to be held accountable, right? I mean, if I am, who's a really good person? If I was just really, really awesome and invented the cure to cancer, okay, and then I went out and shot 3 people, all right, just for no reason, right, just to be mean. Yeah, I invented the cure for cancer. I should still go to jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or the electric chair, or whatever. Okay. I think that obviously I'm not suggesting he should go to jail for this. I do think his behavior was unethical. I mean, I think that's very clear, right? Like, at the same time, he's a prank video where his job is kind of to push the limits of what's acceptable. I think that gets him a little bit of extra leeway here. You know what I mean? It's like a comedian can go up and say things that you're not really supposed to say, and do things you're not really supposed to do. And the point is to make us uncomfortable and laugh about it, right? And explore what it means to. I mean, like it's the thing that you do as a comedian. Same kind of thing, he's a video prankster. I don't know that much about his content, but it sounds like he's kind of pushing societal bounds, right? Yeah, picking the black guy from Compton to be accidentally hoodwinked into being gay or whatever, doing something, committing an act of homosexuality, whatever you want to call it, is pushing the bounds of society. I don't know. Again, it's unethical. I don't know where the limits are in there. I don't know. But the blackout drunk girl, again, it really depends on how culpable he was, right? It's a very strange situation. The other guy, yeah, I mean, whatever his name was, his friend who
Dom,
I mean,
yeah.
call it what it is, right? If she's not really able to stand up under her own power, that's just downright rape. I mean, I don't know how else to categorize it. And yeah, I mean, he should be investigated. And yeah, obviously, if there's any sense of credibility there, his whatever career should be over. And he should be investigated by the law too. But like, I don't know if David Dobrik, I don't know. It's a really interesting question. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he's culpable for that?
I think he had the power in the situation. I mean, he's kind of like the leader of this group that he's built, and he's the one who ordered, Jeff or allegedly, because Jeff came out with a video saying he never bought anyone alcohol, which I believe Jeff. It might have been Todd or someone who bought the alcohol, because I know Jeff's like Jeff's like the one guy who actually isn't David's bitch. But I mean, like, like regardless of who actually bought it, he's the one who like gave that command to like Jeff and Dodd, like at least based on the witnesses' accounts, like, hey, you guys go buy some alcohol to like loosen these girls up. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat where like it's really tough to say like how culpable he is, but I mean, he was kind of in charge there, and
Yeah,
and he,
he's culpable. I don't know
yeah.
to what degree. Yeah. How culpable was the army captain whose subordinates commit war crimes, right? Like, they're not his fault. Obviously, he didn't commit them. But it's a tricky question. I don't know how much authority is there really. You know what I mean? How drunk was the guy when he did this stuff like that, right?
Yeah. And I do know we've talked about this a lot, and I know it's like this was like a tough one to talk about, but we are at like 54 minutes now.
Boy.
Um,
Yeah,
so
so
I don't
let's
know.
kind of wrap it up here. Yeah, so we want to talk about the other side of liberalism too, and I think I don't know. We spent all this time kind of into the other way.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so obviously there's a liberalism on the right too, and I think this is a little bit more obvious and a little bit more, to be quite frankly honest with you, threatening, right? Cancel culture ruins the lives of a few celebrities who may or may not have raped people, and takes off Dr. Seuss books with unflattering depictions of a Chinaman, as he was described in the book, right? Off
yeah,
the shelves. And then you have, on the other end of the liberal spectrum, you have people storming the Capitol and, armed and, not taking COVID vaccines, believing that the world is run by a bunch of pedophiles, oftentimes Jewish pedophiles. A lot of that's really anti-Semitic. Not believing in science at all, right? I mean, I think that for all of our 50 minutes or whatever of discussion about illiberalism with cancel culture and the Me Too movement, there's other forms of illiberalism that are scarier. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like on that whole like right liberalism, kind of like we were talking about before. Like I feel like there's a lot of insane people. South Park actually put out a special a few days ago. I need to watch it, but I've seen clips of it where it's like in the special, like QAnon turns out to be like real, and they're like aren't even like real people. Like they just like they're like a like I don't want to spoil this for anyone, but it's like a mouse comes in and it'll like change the character, and it'll like take like they'll like one of them has a gun. They're like, oh, we're gonna go take down QAnon, and then it crops out the gun. It's hard to explain. Anyway,
That's kind of funny. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Do you think that? I guess what I'm trying to say here is we spend a lot of time on liberalism, kind of more on, I guess I'll just say it, left leaning stuff, right? Cancel culture, toxic elements of the Me Too movement, right? Things that are trying to do good things and trying to make, trying to have progressive policies and stuff, and in a progressive society move in a way they want it to move, and they just get, they get overzealous and end up, kind of going a little bit French Revolution. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Guillotine fly a little bit, and
yeah,
death to the traitors to the revolution, and everyone's a traitor until proven otherwise. But like, they don't really have a guillotine though. You know what I mean? Other people have guns.
yeah. I mean, look, I know, I know you give like you gave your opinions on the David Dobrik stuff, so I'll give an opinion here. Like I personally, like I think like freedom is really important. And like for example, this morning when I saw on the news, like Georgia's passing these, new like voter laws or whatever, and even the picture's really jarring. It's like the governor's like this. I mean, I don't want to make this about race, but the governor's like this white dude, and you see like eight other white dudes standing on his side.
I don't think you're making it about race, man. I think it's about race. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like the rules are done. Like you can't give people food who are waiting in line. You can't vote after 5. You can't mail in your ballot. I'm like, no, this is America. Like we have freedom. Like we should do whatever, Not whatever.
What is the point of not having people eat in line? Please tell me.
I don't know. I literally don't. It's just to make it. It's just make it harder. It's literally just to make it harder to vote. Like
oh yeah, you might be like, smuggling in extra ballots in that, like friggin' takeout, okay, and you're friggin' Big Mac, all right? Like, shut up, man, shut up, all right? It's just a Big Mac. Let me eat. That's shit I've heard. Oh yeah, and then only in America, man. Only in America would you have. Oh yeah, everyone gets off at 5, so you can't vote after 5. And the voting will also take place on a weekday when most people are working.
Yeah, it's really dumb, dude. I saw a funny stitch on TikTok today where it was like a stitch of like this British guy that's like hey, like if America is so great, like or like what makes America so great or whatever. And then this dude like responded, he's like, America's so great that all the people that live here who hate it don't have anywhere else to go. Or like what makes America the best country in the world? He's like, all the people who live here who hate America don't leave America. Whereas like other people in the world, like when they hate their they come here.
Leave.
Like that was his point. But
By the time they get to America, they've already hit rock bottom. They've got nowhere else to
yeah.
go.
But it's like what like where do you go, you know, from like I don't know. It's just a TikTok point.
We're the masses teeming on the wretched shore, and we're already here. Where do we go now? I don't know, dude. I think Canada's a pretty dope place.
Yeah, it might be.
I'm just kidding. I like America. I'm not hating on America, dude. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
God bless this country. I love it, and it's got some problems, but we gotta work through them. You know.
Yeah.
Gotta work.
Yeah.
In a liberal-minded manner, where we're charitable towards each other.
Yeah.
And we say,
I know.
let's find a middle ground.
Yeah, I know. I ate 20 minutes of that with the whole David Dobrik thing, but I think we're over an hour, or more than 20. But I think we're over an hour now.
Oh no! Well,
if,
the bell tolls for us then.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening in. We had a great time rambling about various cultural issues, really off the cuff. You know, don't don't quote me on this one, guys, but we had a good time.
Yeah, it was. I like the exploring too. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to grab your. I don't even know what to do for this. So theoretical. What do you think?
Your hammer of social justice.
Yeah, grab your hammer of social justice and absolutely smash that like button to show some support if you like today's video. And also make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. That way, when we post a video every Sunday at 9:30 in the morning, you get a notification. You click on it, and you can just listen to the episode while you cook, clean, drive, whatever. And with that said, see you guys next week. Bye-bye.